Hello everyone! Today we are going to be making this Monstera plant. I have a hanging option as well as a regular pot option. For materials today, I'm using all 4-weight acrylic yarns. I'm using green for the leaves, brown for the soil, and tan for the pot. You can use any color for the pot, but I just wanted to go with a terracotta type color. If you need suggestions for what brand to buy, I use Craft Smart from Michaels or Red Heart Super Saver. You'll also need a pair of scissors, a stitch marker, a darning needle, and I am using a 4.25mm hook. The last thing that you'll need is a very small amount of polyfill. The first step to making our leaves is going to be to make a magic ring. You can use a chain too, but it will leave you with a space in the middle of your leaf, so the more desirable option is to use a magic ring if possible. Next, to begin round 1, we're going to be chaining 2. And then we are going to work a double crochet directly into the magic ring. Now we will chain another 2 and do another double crochet into the magic ring. Next, we will be chaining 1 and do a triple crochet into the magic ring. And this will complete the first half of the skeleton to our leaf. Now we're going to mimic this side onto the other side. And to do that, we are going to be chaining 1, doing a double crochet into the magic ring, chain 2, and do another double crochet into the magic ring. We will be finishing off round 1 by chaining 2 and slip stitching directly into the ring. Ring tight and begin round 2. The first part of round 2 can be a little bit tricky. We're going to find that first chain 2 space that we made in round 1 and separate it from the double crochet next to it to really define the space in between. Then we're going to do a slip stitch into that chain 2 space, 2 single crochets, and another slip stitch, all into that same chain 2 space. Into the next chain 2 space, we're going to be doing a slip stitch, 2 single crochets, and another slip stitch. Now we are going to be forming the top part of the leaf. So into that next chain 1 space, we are going to do a slip stitch, a single crochet, and a double crochet. And into the next chain 1 space, we're going to be working the opposite of that. So do a double crochet, a single crochet, and then a slip stitch. Into the next chain 2 space, do a slip stitch, 2 single crochets, and a slip stitch. Now we're going to find the last chain 2 space by doing the same thing that we did at the beginning of the round and separating it from the double crochet beside it. Do a slip stitch, 2 single crochets, and a slip stitch into that last chain 2 space of round 2. Now to finish off round 2, find the very first slip stitch that we made in round 2 and slip stitch back into it so that way our leaf ends up very cohesive. Pull up a loop and cut off a small tail. Make sure your magic ring is tight by double checking the tail is pulled all the way closed. Now I like to do a couple of double knots so that way the top of my leaf ends up with a cinched in look, and also I know that my strings will be very secure and my stitches will not come undone. You don't have to sew in the ends too complicated. I just go around the stitches that were in the magic ring since now they're pulled very tight and will make my string secure. Trim off your excess string, and now your leaf is done. You'll need to make 29 of these in total. After you've made your 29 leaves, the next step is to create your soil. First, I'm starting with a magic ring. Into that magic ring, I am going to single crochet 6 times. Pull your ring closed. For round 2, we are going to do 6 increases. An increase is 2 single crochet into one of the single crochet spaces in the previous round. You should have 12 stitches at the end of this round. For round 3, we are going to do 1 single crochet in the first space and an increase in the next. We're going to repeat that pattern 6 times, leaving us 18 stitches at the end of our round. For round 4, do a single crochet in the first 2 spaces and an increase in the third. Repeat this pattern 6 times so that you have 24 stitches at the end of your round. For round 5, do a single crochet in the first 3 stitches, then do an increase in the 4th space. Repeat this pattern 6 times until you have 30 stitches at the end of your round. For round 6, do a single crochet in the first 4 spaces, then do an increase in the 5th space. Repeat this pattern 6 times, and at the end of your round, you will have 36 stitches. For round 7, do a single crochet in the first 5 spaces, then do an increase in the 6th space. Repeat this pattern 6 times and you will have 42 stitches at the end of your round. Slip stitch into the first stitch of round 7. Cut off your working yarn and weave in both your ends. This will complete the soil portion of your project. Now we are going to start assembling our branches. To do this, I start with a slip knot. Insert your hook into the top of your leaf. It doesn't have to be a specific spot, just anywhere that is secure and you feel lays in a flattering way. Pull your slip knot through the leaf. Chain either 6 or 8 times. I alternate this in no specific pattern so that my branches look more organic and natural. Insert your hook into the top of the next leaf and pull through your loop. Chain another 6 or 8 times. Continue this until you have all of the leaves on your vine. You will need to make 4 branches with 3 leaves, 3 branches with 4 leaves, and 1 branch with 5 leaves. When you are done adding leaves to your branch, cut off your working yarn, leave a long tail at the top, and weave in the tail that is at the bottom of your vine. Meet me back here whenever you have completed all 8 vines. Now we are going to start assembling our branches into the soil. Start by threading the long tail at the top of your branch into the eye of your working needle. Make sure you are using one of your 3 or 4 leaf branches. Insert your needle into one of the outer rings of your soil. Do not cover the centerpiece of your soil, as that is where the 5th leaf branch is going to be inserted. Alternate to your other length of branch. For example, I started with a 3-leaf branch, so now I'm using a 4. I like to alternate going around and place them close enough together so that they can lay slightly overlapping. I like to tie my tails together as I'm working around, so that way it holds the branches in place and they don't become loose. Try to place your 3 leaves and your 4 leaves in cardinal directions from each other, meaning straight across or perpendicular. This is a good example of leaves that are close enough to overlap but not too overcrowded. Meet me back here whenever you have all but your 5 leaf left to sew on. You should have 2 3-leaf branches that are next to each other. Place the top of the 5-leaf branch so that it hangs down in between those 2 3-leaf branches that are next to each other. Once I have all of the branches attached, I like to take all of their tails together and create a knot, so that way I can trim it and it won't be so overwhelming whenever I'm attaching the soil to the pot. I'm making my pot in a light tan terracotta colored yarn. I start with a magic ring, and for row 1, I crochet 6 single crochets into the magic ring. For round 2, do an increase into each of the previous 6 stitches, leaving you with 12 single crochets at the end of your round. For round 3, do a single crochet in the first space and an increase in the next. This will leave you with 18 single crochet at the end of your round. For round 4, do a single crochet in the first 2 spaces and an increase in the third. Repeat this pattern 6 times, and this will leave you with 24 stitches at the end of your round. For round 5, do a single crochet in the first 3 spaces and an increase in the fourth. Repeat this pattern 6 times, and you will have 30 stitches at the end of your round. For round 6, do a single crochet in the first 4 spaces and an increase in the fifth. Repeat this pattern 6 times, and you'll have 36 stitches at the end of your round. For round 7, do a single crochet in the first 5 spaces. Increase in the 6th. Repeat this pattern 6 times, and you will have 42 stitches at the end of your round. For round 8, we're going to be working in the back loop only. If you look at the top of your single crochets, you'll have a V-like structure. Go into the back loop of that structure only and single crochet all the way around. You should have 42 stitches at the end of this round. Now we are going to be beginning the height part of our pot. Single crochet around the rounds for the entirety of how tall you want your pot to be. I chose 8 rounds, so in this example, it will be rounds 9 through 17, and I'll meet you back whenever we're done. Make sure you keep 42 stitches in each round. I'm back at the end of my row 17. Now we're going to start attaching the pot to the soil. To do this, go underneath both loops of the tan color and both loops of the brown color for 1 stitch. Then single crochet like you normally would. This will hide the soil into the pot, and you won't be able to see any of the brown through the pot's layer. Continue doing this pattern of going through both loops so that you have 4 loops on your hook that you're pulling through to do your single crochet. Before you close up this space too much, make sure you take the opportunity, if you haven't already, to sew in the tail that is at the bottom of your pot. Before you close up this hole completely, make sure you stuff your pot lightly. Don't put too much stuffing in or else it'll make your pot really round. I like to do around 19 of just single crochets all the way around into just the tan colored loops to help give it a little bit of a lip at the top of the pot. If you just want this plant to be in a regular pot, then all you have to do is finish up with a slip stitch and sew your end in. If you do want to have a hanging plant, then we'll start building the straps for that. If you do want your plant to be hanging, then after you do your slip stitch, chain 50. At the end of your chain, cut about a 3 to 4 inch tail and pull it through. Since this round has 42 stitches, you'll need to count 10 stitches over from that first strap. Create a slip knot with your tan yarn and pull it through the stitch that we just counted over to using your hook. Chain 50 once again. Cut off another 3 to 4 inch tail. Sew in the tail that is at the start of your chain. Count over another 10 stitches from the strap that we just finished and repeat the whole process again. Since 42 isn't completely divisible by 4, split the difference between the first and the last strap that we just made. Repeat the process for creating a strap one last time. Congratulations, you now have a finished Monstera plant ready to hang in your home. If you like this tutorial, then please like and subscribe for more content like this. If you do end up making this project, please tag me on one of my social medias. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible.